Hello and welcome to another episode of Carry On, a film-by-film review of the cinematic career of Jim Carrey. It's been a while, but I've been struggling to find All in Good Taste, which was his 1983 film, his second on his IMDb list, and actually his first feature. And I want to say special thanks to Ranger K, who gave me a link. I have no idea if it was strictly, how you say, above board, but I will say that I had a hard time finding it anywhere else, and having finally watched it, I now understand why that is. So, All in Good Taste. Where to start? Okay, let's start with the good, all right? This film was, and I so far I've done Rubberface, introducing ... Janet, Copper Mountain, and now All in Good Taste. All in Good Taste was the first one that actually felt like a movie. I mean, a bad movie, but there were characters, there was some sort of story. It was a robust 84 minutes long, where the other ones were like 48. And it actually had some, plot and what appeared to be editing. I mean, it was the first one of the three that I was like, okay, I'm watching, this is a movie. So it is also, and I can't think of a better way to say this, maybe one of the horniest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And there was a time where Comedy Central during the day would just show whatever low budget screwball comedies they could get their hands on. So it'd be like, if there was a film made about a guy getting a video camera and trying to film a movie and using it as a way to con ladies into bikinis, it was probably shown on Comedy Central in like 1998. And I probably watched it because I used to only watch Comedy Central during the summer. And so I've seen a lot of bad screwball comedies, and this is still like the horniest movie I've ever seen. So let's talk about the plot. All in Good Taste. So first off, here's the rundown. This guy whose name you never really catch, and the credits even just refer to him as the filmmaker, he's pitching this script he's written, and the script, he says, is about like child placement, I guess in like foster care or adoption, and he talks about it as like a form of white slavery. It's very upsetting. And he's trying to pitch, okay, in the world of this movie, they talk about this like it's the most investigative journalism. Like his wife in the first moment with him is like, "You've made so many people mad. Are you sure you want to do another movie? You get too close to the truth and people get mad." And they talk about it like he's uncovering stuff and writing about, but he's writing movies. So he's just like basing movies on the stuff he researches. So anyways, he's written this movie. He wants to get it made. No one will make it because it's not titillating enough, and everybody's pitching these other, more horny options to get it made. And his original producer pitched him this film about stripping, and he wants to send him on kind of a fact-finding mission to all of the different like countries in the world where I guess stripping and exotic dancing is prevalent. And so that's kind of the setup. So in the beginning, first of all, you should know there's a lot of voiceover in this movie, like a lot of story is done through voiceover, and it's his producer who has actually been in a lot of things. I didn't recognize his name, but I recognize his face and his voice. He's actually been in a lot of things. But like they talk about this, like, so his wife's like, "You've made enemies, blah, blah, blah." And he gets in his car, and his car appears to explode, but then it's like, haha, no, it was just something wrong and it backfired. And the creepy guy who's been watching is actually just his neighbor who's like a concert violinist or something. It's all fine. Ha ha ha. I have, what? It makes no sense. I have no idea what it's. Many times this movie is trying to be this wacky, like magical realism thing, but it's not that. It's not. It's just weird. A good hallmark of just a great bad movie. There is an original song titled "All in Good Taste" that recaps the plot of the movie in the song. It's great. So in the opening credits, a lot of nudity, a lot, like not even suggested, just like boom, 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 shot, nudity shot, and it's like, hey, you know exactly what you're getting into in this movie right off the bat. Like I there were many times in this movie where I was reminded that it was basically softcore pornography. In fact, I have many notes written down that just say, "Is this a porno?" Which I haven't felt since watching The Room. So the main guy, whoever the actor is, he's very quiet, and I don't know if it's a directing thing or a writing thing or an acting thing, but they can't decide whether he is horny or not. Sometimes he reacts to seeing nudity like, "Whoa," but most of the time he's just uncomfortable. But the music would make us think he's in like a Benny Hill-esque like romp, but his face is like, it's very strange. So there's lots of silly scenes of him like watching strippers, and the secretary of his like producer coming onto him while watching strippers, and then the producer kind of uses that to blackmail him and tells him like, "I'll tell your wife about what I saw with you and my secretary if you don't make this movie about stripping." And also, this is at this point like 15 minutes into the movie, they drop just like talking about this filmmaker as a award-winning filmmaker. They also later mention that he's in the Academy. Are we to assume he's won an Oscar? I don't know. So then he shops the movie out, his child placement movie, and nobody wants it. Everybody's trying to change the movie, and they're like, "Oh, this is great. Just a couple small changes. Let's add in like some nude women and a mud wrestling scene." And they're always trying to like make it more of what it is, and more voiceover. And I'm no joke. I kept writing down, "What is this?" Because I don't know what the movie was supposed to be. I don't know what it's trying to convey. Because here's the thing. It seems like a lampooning of movies who add nudity to make money and just as like a money-making thing. Except that is exactly what they're doing. So it's either very meta or just a really poorly done satire. Because I have no idea what the movie wants me to feel about nudity. And I've seen the whole thing. They do throw in some dude strippers there. And then there's a very homophobic scene. So there's misogyny, there's homophobia. It's awesome. And then let's see. Okay, so now 30 minutes into an 84-minute movie, he finally decides to accept his fate of having to make this movie about stripping. But he tells the producer guy that he knows nothing about it, and so he has to go learn. And this is where you get my favorite line in the movie. So the producer attempts to tell the filmmaker that he's got him over a barrel, but the filmmaker interrupts him, and this is how it goes. "I've got you over a bunch of naked women is what I'm over." No idea. No idea what that means. Then there's more misogyny. And so then he goes to a strip club. And once again, in the spirit of whimsy, he's in like a trench coat and a fake mustache and like dark glasses. And looks like somebody who's trying to get noticed for sneaking into a place. It's whimsical. And there's also a stand-up comic performing at this strip club, which I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe that was a thing in the 80s. It's very out of place. And also, this strip club in this movie is packed with people. And then I began to assume that maybe this movie is funded by some sort of like stripper council. that's all about PR. He goes backstage to talk to the strippers. I should say dancer. It's unclear because at some, okay, here's the thing about the movie. We've reached this point now, 40 minutes, halfway through the movie. About halfway through the movie is where this movie takes a hard ideological shift, right? For the first half of the movie, it's all about like, naked women, so salacious. This is totally going to make us a bunch of money. And then halfway through the movie, it takes this tonal shift and like he's interviewing these exotic dancers, these strippers, and they're like, well, it's all about like, you know, using our bodies to make a living and it doesn't hurt us. And they talk about women's lib and all this stuff. You're like, wait, hold on. Don't try to pretend like you're not horny, movie. And then and then I wrote down, if this were Copper Mountain, I'd be done by now. So you may be wondering, wait, we're halfway through the movie. Where is James Carrey? James Carrey appears 46 minutes into this movie. And this is important to note because I guess maybe in the re-release or whatever, he's on the box image. It's just his face. I think it's a picture of him from the Majestic too, because there's never a close-up of James Carrey. He doesn't have any lines. He might grunt or make a noise, but so basically he's there as his photographer friend or something. So they go to explore Miss Pro Nude or something, and they get to this like nudist camp, and upon arrival are greeted by a young nude woman who tells them that they're only allowed in if they get nude. So about 30 seconds after appearing in the movie, Jim Carrey gets naked and we see his butt as he walks down a hallway and they play trombone music. Okay, the next three notes I have written down. Now this is ridiculous. Is this real? I hate this so much. So there's that. So he's at a nudist camp. I have no problem with nudists. I have no problem with the concept of it. It's not, they jump back and forth between actually kind of treating it with respect and also making fun of, like, there will be a scene where they talk about like, oh, well, it just means this and we're comfortable with our bodies. And then like hard cut to him being chased by a bunch of nude women while they play Benny Hill-esque music. And it's like, wait, hold on. What am I supposed to feel about this? I will say this movie seems like an 84-minute love letter to breasts. And then he's kind of in a pool just surrounded by breasts. I think he either actually drowns or fake drowns and all the women drag him out of the pool. He comes back, he runs away. Anyways, I have no idea what the message of this movie. Anyways, so Jim Carrey is on screen for about 5 minutes, or he's in 5 minutes of the movie, I would say. He's probably on screen collectively maybe 10 minutes or maybe 10 seconds, and he doesn't have any lines of dialogue. Cut to, with no transition at all, the filmmaker, I guess, is throwing a party at his house, and there's all these guys just sitting around watching a video of strippers and talking about his project. He's not even in the room when this scene starts. Then he walks in the room, followed closely by, like, I guess all of their wives who come in and they're just like, what is this? And I'm so mad at you. And so they file out. Everybody leaves except the filmmaker and his wife. The wife is very angry, also probably pretty confused, just like the viewers are. And she tells him, fine, go on your trip, research stripping, but don't expect me to be here when you get back. So his marriage is falling apart in the middle of this screwball comedy. So then he goes on a trip. Now at this point, we are 60 minutes into an 84-minute movie. For the next 16 minutes, all it is a montage of B-roll shots with like title, like Rio de Janeiro, and then like B-roll of Rio. Title, Las Vegas, B-roll of Las Vegas. Title, Honolulu, whatever. And we don't see him in any of these places. You hear voiceover from the producer, which would lead us to believe that our filmmaker is just going on just a sex romp and spending all kinds of money and going really crazy because I guess his marriage is crumbling. So why not? But they don't show him in any of these places. It's just 16 minutes of B-roll of strippers and the cities that he goes to. So now, like 78 minutes into an 84-minute movie, his movie is just premiering. So suddenly he's just been out, I guess, researching for a script, but then the movie's made because the producer's like, hey, try to get a hold of him and get him back because his movie's opening. So he shows up and everybody loves his movie about stripping. And so he, like, his producer's begging him to make a sequel. I don't know what the sequel would be about. And he gets home and he's like, kind of bummed out because his wife's left him. But he gets home and his wife's there. And she was at the premiere and she loved it. She thought the stripping movie was his best yet. And she's so in love with him that she starts stripping for him. At which point the filmmaker does one of my pet peeves in any kind of media, which is he's having this very intimate moment and the phone rings and he answers it while the intimate moment is going on. And it's the producer, and the producer's like, they're wild about it. You got to make another one. You can have anything you want. Just tell me whatever you want. And he's like getting kissed by his wife and he's like, well, yeah, okay, whatever. And then the producer is like, and you hear the producer voiceover like, and then we made another movie. Roll credits. The end of movie. And you also find out that the movie the producer wants to make is the film we are watching. The producer wants to make a film based on the making of the stripper film. So what we are watching is a dramatic, replay, I guess, of the filmmaker's adventure in making this movie. I have no idea. This movie was apparently made in Canada for 200,000 Canadian dollars. Jim Carrey is one of two people in the whole cast on IMDb that actually has like a picture with his credit. This was his first feature film. And you see his butt in it. And I'm not surprised that you couldn't find it anywhere because of this 84-minute movie, I would guesstimate probably 20 to 30 minutes of it is nudity. And I don't know. It's a lot of nudity, but it is strangely very tied to the plot. I don't know. I don't listen. I don't recommend watching this movie, but I especially don't recommend watching this movie like on an airplane or in a waiting room where other human beings can see you. So I would give this movie out of 10, maybe like a 3. Because like I said, there is some kind of story to it. I think the idea of someone making a movie in a movie, it's pretty played out. It's the thing that people do a lot, but it is a storyline, which Copper Mountain and introducing Janet / Rubberface didn't have any of that. They didn't even have that kind of basic. So just comparatively, I'm going to say a 3. I'm very excited because next on the list is Finders Keepers, and then we get to Once Bitten. And at that point, I think I'm going to have to maybe, I don't know, change my criteria of gay, because by the time I get to like, let's see, what's next? But once I get to Peggy Sue Got Married, I'm just going to give it a 10 because it's got to be better than All in Good Taste. Yeah, so that's that movie. Do not recommend it. Next on the list is Finders Keepers, which I'm betting he also has a pretty small part in. I don't think we're going to get like a lot of Jim Carrey until we get to Once Bitten. But thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Carry On. If you like this, subscribe, tell a friend, share it on Twitter and Facebook or whatever, I guess. And I'll try to keep going. It's a real slog. I can't wait till I get to the actual movies. But now that I've watched and reviewed All in Good Taste, I'm ready to carry on.